Life in one of the world's largest oil-producing nations, Venezuelans say, shouldn't be this difficult. And access to a basic human right should be easier.
They charge us $2 or $2.50 for water. It's too much. We can't do it anymore because nobody can put up with that. Sometimes the guys here bring us water from the well and sell it cheaper. For more than 20 years, we haven't known what it's like to have tap water.
Running water has long been a luxury in the sprawling low-income neighborhoods around Caracas. A state-owned company is in charge of supplying water practically free of charge, but it is unable to keep up with rising demand. Some residents of Petare, Venezuela's largest favela, benefit from a nearby well where they can collect groundwater. Others siphon tap water from broken pipes.
We come here to get drinking water every 2 weeks. For use at the house, I have to fetch and carry every day because we only have running water sometimes once a week, and for 2 hours or an hour and a half, if that. Otherwise, we don't have water.
Shrinking wages and rising prices make access to water more difficult. Even informal traders are increasing prices for jugs and tanker water. But these sources are still preferable because they are more reliable than the state for access to the most essential resource for life. Zein, Basravi, Al Jazeera.
Well, let's get more on this. We're joined now by Richard Connor. He's the editor-in-chief of the United Nations World Water Development Report, and he's joining us from the UN in New York. Very good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. We've been going over the numbers of people who don't have constant access to safe water and sanitation, and they're absolutely alarming. Is the world going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal of water and sanitation for all by 2030?
One would hope so, but if we manage to do it, it's because we will have put a lot more effort than we have been putting so far towards water and sanitation. I've been listening to attentively to the last stories about Venezuela, Colombia, and Bangladesh, and these are places where it's not a question of water, truly physical water scarcity. What we're talking about there is economic water scarcity. The water is there, the resources are there, but they're not getting to the people that really need it, and certainly not in an affordable way. So that's the number one place in terms of making a difference in people's lives where we really have to focus our attention.
And so as well as focusing the attention, there's also been talk that, countries have to quadruple their efforts to be able to ensure safe water and sanitation for all. What else needs to happen to achieve that goal?
Well, just the quadrupling the efforts in and of itself is a very tall order. It's a question. It's a lot of. We talk about investment, and indeed, investment in water and sanitation has to increase. But it's not just in terms of investing in pipes and treatment plants, and so in infrastructure. What's really missing is capacity, so that the municipalities themselves have the expertise not only to build but to actually operate these systems and provide the level of services that people require to meet even the most basic needs, which are and achieve the human rights to water and sanitation.
And what you're mentioning, it sounds like, those things are more applicable to lower income countries, whereas the risks related to water quality, there's just as many risks, I was quite surprised to read, in relation to water quality in low income countries as there are in higher income countries too.
No, that's true. In low-income countries, the number one cause of water pollution is untreated wastewater. 80% of the world's wastewater is released to the environment without any treatment at all. And in a lot of developing countries, it's 99%. It's pretty much everything. But in developed countries, the water pollution is caused by agricultural runoff. So these are inefficient irrigation systems that use more water than they should. And the agricultural runoff is filled with nitrogen, basically nutrients or fertilizers, herbicides, pesticides. And so even in developed countries, there's a lot of efforts that need to be done to reduce pollution and thus protect the resource.
Yeah, I mean, some of the issues that you just mentioned about higher income countries, I know they're very applicable to, where I'm from, New Zealand, where people have no idea that runoff, agricultural runoff, is a huge problem in regards to water pollution. We've been covering this conference that's taking place on water at the United Nations in New York, where you are the first of its kind in 45 years. How hopeful are you that it will be able to produce something concrete, given that, there's no binding agreements expected and the commitments will be voluntary?
Well, it's a matter of opinion. Of course, some internationally binding agreement would be fine, but how really useful would it be? It's really up to different countries, member states, to make sure that the populations do receive the services that they deserve at an affordable price, and that the resource is well managed and protected as well. And so it's not really international laws or agreements that are going to protect the ecosystems and the basins and the rivers.
Right.
That's really at the national level. So hopefully, the momentum created by this meeting or this conference will actually push member states to, a lot of them might have environmental protection laws, but they're not necessarily enforcing them. So the idea is to put pressure on the member states to adopt these laws, but also enforce them and make sure that that water is well managed and protected.
All right, that is Richard Connor, the editor-in-chief of the United Nations World Water Development Report. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.